Hello, ladies. I hope that your day is going well and your day has been struggle free. In this video, I want to talk about when everything lost is not a loss. The power of a woman walking away from what no longer serves her. In this video, I want to talk about the importance of not only recognizing our worth and our value, but when we need to cut ties with a relationship. And it doesn't just have to be romantic, but a relationship that does not meet the standard or the criteria in terms of being beneficial, in terms of being healthy, in terms of enhancing our life. If you haven't already, please like the video, hit the subscription, and go ahead and hit that notification bell so that you will be notified every time that I upload a new video. One of the things I think is very important about having a channel and in utilizing this platform is to not become mired down in negativity, but rather to look at how to enhance our lives, how to level up, how to be in positive mode, how to be spiritually grounded, how to thrive, and definitely how to avoid struggle of dysfunctional, toxic, non-reciprocal relationships. Self-esteem in terms of knowing our worth, in terms of our spirituality, and walking in purpose. First and foremost, having a spiritual foundation so that we can have the discernment when we encounter these struggle of situations and dysfunction and toxicity, and that we are not entangled and ensnared in that web. So we can have relationships in our life, and it's not just romantically. It can be a friendship, it can be a family relationship, it can be a work relationship, it can be a acquaintanceship, but it is a relationship that is not beneficial to us. It is one that undermines us. It is one that is dysfunctional. It is one that undermines our self-esteem and our self-worth. It is one that may be toxic. It may be a combination of all the above, but it is a relationship that we have become embroiled in and that we do need to disengage from, detach from, because in some cases it may be family and we may need to love them from a distance. There are some family members that we have to love from a distance. We can certainly pray for them and the issues they're going through, but we may not be able to engage with them on a regular basis or have close contact with them. And the same can be said for long-term friendships. There may be friends that, again, we can pray for. We can hope that they turn their life around. We might even be able to provide resources to help them in terms of therapy, but not in terms of us continuing to be on a path of intersecting with someone who is ultimately an agent of chaos. There are people that come into our lives to enhance our lives, and there are people that are a stumbling block. There are people that are agents of chaos. And it's very, very important for us to know the difference between whether somebody is in our life to enhance it, to be beneficial to our life, or whether they are someone who is going to undermine us, who is going to complicate our life, who is going to bring chaos and problems and issues and dysfunction, and who is going to help detour us from our path and our purpose. It's very important that we know that. And that is where discernment is so very important, but also being able to understand within ourselves if we still have healing that needs to be done, so that we are in a place, we get to a place, even if we start the path today, of knowing our worth, knowing our value, and being attracted to healthy, functional relationships. There has been such a long-term pattern in terms of socialization, in terms of grooming, in terms of what has been taught. There is this thirst and this strong desire, and there is a spirit that will influence women to be desperate for relationships. And we can become entangled and embroiled and ensnared in a relationship that is very much toxic And I'm now talking primarily about a romantic relationship. So we can become embroiled in a relationship that is very problematic, where our life was very harmonious before this relationship, and then once that relationship begins, things start to tumble out of control. There becomes discordance in our life, instability, and we are now off course and off track. And then when we recognize this, it may be difficult to disengage, because when you engage with an agent of chaos, one thing that they want to do is they want to continue to have someone that they can prey upon, be connected to, and continue this path of chaos and of instability and of creating problems and dysfunction. And in the Bible, in Genesis, there was a wife of a man named Lot, who was the nephew of Abraham. And as they were fleeing the city, she was told not to look back. She looked back and she turned into a pillar of salt. And that does not happen as dramatically in our life, that we turn into a pillar of salt. But what can happen is, by us looking back, we can remain off course, and we can remain out of our purpose and out of our path, and we can continue to stumble and to go through different issues and different episodes of chaos, because we are not rightly aligned. We are not aligned in a relationship that's actually there to enhance us, because we are looking towards a direction that is not beneficial for us. And that's very important. It's very important for us to know where we are going, to be very focused, to have our vision, to have our goals, to have our purpose, and to understand the importance of being rightly aligned. Because how many times have you seen this play out, where a woman has a life that's fairly stable, where she has a goal, she has a vision, she has objectives, and what she does is a lowering of a standard. And there's a lot of pressure that's put on women. For so many years, women have been taught, it's getting better now, the understanding that you don't have to be married to have value, that you don't have to be a mother to have value. Of course, it's wonderful if you have a happy, harmonious, loving, functional marriage, but if you're not married, that doesn't mean that you lose your worth. So for so long, there's been this enormous societal pressure to be married and to be in a relationship. And so because of all of this pressure to be picked and to be chosen and to be in a relationship, and if we look at the struggle of dynamic, to acquiesce to a substandard relationship, it becomes very problematic. You reach the goal of being in a relationship, but the relationship brings so many problems and so much discordance and instability to your life, because it's not a relationship that truly honors or values you. So we have to be very mindful that we don't become yet another statistic in terms of being embroiled in a relationship with a man who is not someone who truly values us, who truly wants to make our life better, but rather it's a version of struggle love. We are the come up woman, the placeholder woman. We are the fallback woman. We are the side chick. We are one of many side chicks. So situations and relationships that are not going to be beneficial to us, that don't honor us, that don't value us, they're not loving, they're not reciprocal, there's not faithfulness, there's not loyalty. In some cases, we may be acting as a sugar mama. We may be taking care of a man who should be financially functional within himself. And so it's very important that we are able to recognize, using our discernment, and this is why it's so important that we're doing the vetting and that we're doing the screening before we even think about getting into a relationship, so that we're not love bombed or coerced into a relationship that's ultimately going to be problematic. Not just a struggle love situation, but a situation that may be abusive, that may be dysfunctional, toxic, all the above. So that's why it's so important to take our time, because what can happen is that a representative can be presented, a representative but not the true person. And then by the time that they are revealed, by that time, you've already been involved in a relationship. You may have developed a soul tie. Unfortunately, you have an attachment, and now it's harder to walk away from it. But it can be done. And that's why, if we are mindful, if we are using our discernment, if we take our time to do the screening and the vetting, and if we address any sort of unworthiness we may feel to have a good relationship, to have a healthy relationship, that is, if we recognize that we have low self-esteem that we need to address, if we can recognize within ourselves that we are settling for relationships that are substandard and that don't meet the mark, that we have lowered our standard and our criteria and our boundaries, and we are now in a relationship that's really one-sided. It's not reciprocal, it's not healthy, it's not functional, and it's not a relationship that should have ever passed go. If we can recognize that we may have that sort of desperate feeling to be in a relationship at all costs that can compromise our health, our well-being, our finances, our spirit, just every facet of our life. If we recognize that we're willing to risk everything, then that's something that we can address. We can address that issue so that we don't operate in a pick-me spirit where we're so interested and desirous of a relationship that we're willing to compromise ourselves just to say, I'm in a relationship, I have a man. So if we can recognize that we don't have to feel desperate, we don't have to operate in a pick-me spirit, we do not have to feel that we have to be validated by being in any old relationship, in a struggle love situationship, just to say we have a man. It makes it easier to walk away from what we can see will be a problematic relationship to become engaged in. It makes it a lot more simple when we are not operating in a spirit of desperation, of feeling like we need to compete with other women, of feeling like if we're not chosen by a man that we don't have any worth, if we're not feeling like we have to compromise our standards, our criteria, and our boundaries just to check a box that say that we have a relationship. When we are able to develop our self-worth and know our value and walk in our purpose and have visions and goals and not be deterred, not only is it easier to walk away from what can potentially be very problematic, a chaotic relationship, but we also retain a standard. And that is so very important, that we don't waver, that we're not bamboozled or coerced or groomed into or love bombed into a relationship that will leave heavy baggage, that will bring problems and liabilities rather than benefits. Even if it's starting today, we can develop the ability to walk away from these very problematic romantic relationships that do not honor us, where we are not valued, loved, or supported. Let me know what you think in the comments beneath the video. As always, be blessed. Continue to level up. Stay far away from the struggle matrix, because you deserve better.